Thank you, Nav, for that kind introduction. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you're all enjoying your dinner. Before I begin, I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land. I've been asked today to, give you a bit of paint a picture really on the position that the Muslim community is currently in with the mainstream media and just a bit of a historical context on where we are today and how we got here. So the biggest issue that I've noticed within the Muslim community and generally within minority communities is this fear that we have towards the media. The media is painted as the enemy and the enemy is against us. But unfortunately, or rather fortunately, this is as far from the truth in my opinion. So why do Muslims fear the media? There's a really good quote that I came across in a book called Islam and Muslims in the Media by Akbazad, I hope I pronounced that right, and Smith from Monash Uni. And they said that the media is a significant social agent with the potential to influence community perceptions. In particular, its influence can seriously impact on minority groups by subjecting them to pressures by implying that they hold unusual characteristics which do not correspond with the values and ethos of the mainstream Australia. And I think this perfectly summarises the current state that the Muslim community is in relation to the media. According to academics like Kevin Dunn, the idea that the media depicts Muslims and helps shape their identity is something that's long been argued. So Kevin Dunn argues that the depiction of Muslims and Islam in the media constructs them as the other, even backward, ethnic, foreign groups who need to be managed or tolerated within our country. Kevin Dunn continues to claim that these social constructs of identity are given life through their articulation. The misrepresentation, or rather the re-representation of Muslims and Islam only further forces Muslims to distrust the media and disengage. It's the media construct of Muslims that worries them most of all. These fears have been heightened in a post-9/11 world and a post-Cronulla riots Australia, where Muslims remain in the media spotlight. And with recent events, Muslims are yet again in the centre of the media attention. With the distrust of the media comes a lack of engagement. In my research thesis on Muslim women media advocacy post-9/11, I found that there was a lack of positive relationship building between the Muslim community and media professionals. One media advocate who I interviewed, who goes by the pseudonym of Anna, said, "I think forming professional relationships with media professionals is critical. I don't think it's journalists who are the enemy. I know a lot of the time they're doing their jobs, and I understand that having that relationship with journalists means they get to know who we are and they know who to go to." The lack of media relationship building between the community and media professionals has also manifested itself in two ways which have defined and impacted the construction of Muslims' identity. Another academic by the name of Anne Ali observed that there are two forms of identity construction which Muslims, particularly Australian Muslims, engage in. First, there's the all too familiar victim identity, and secondly, the alternative narratives. The victim identity has seen Australian Muslims claim that they're being victimised because of their religious beliefs within the media. Secondly, Anne Ali finds an alternative identity narrative lies in active disengagement, whereby some Muslims consciously disengage from the media. And this disengagement offers people a sense of regaining power over their representation and how they're presented in the public eye. However, disengagement with the media does not shift the media's discourse, but rather means that the discourse just no longer is implemented in constructing who we are as a community and who we are as worshippers. Furthermore, conscious disengagement from the media is not an effective media tool, and I have not witnessed it to be a successful way to engage with the media. So what is an effective media form of engagement? Firstly, positive media engagement and relationship building should be undertaken. Events like the one that we're at tonight are a perfect opportunity for journalists and other media professionals to meet young Muslims who are the future leaders of the community. It's an opportunity for journalists to build on their contacts book and have a go-to person who is trustworthy and representative of the majority of Muslims, or as much as you can get a majority of Muslim representation. Furthermore, it's an opportunity for Muslim leaders to establish positive relations with journalists and have constructive discussion on how the representation of Muslims can be improved and what are the concerns that some media professionals hold. I also strongly recommend and encourage meeting with media professionals and learning about the daily news cycle. Journalists work on strict deadlines, and too often issues covered by the media relating to Muslims are complex and more often than not have long-standing historical context. These are issues that a journalist cannot learn nor include in their stories due to time constraints and relevant newsworthiness. It is therefore the responsibility of Muslim spokespeople to articulate a clear, succinct message, of course, all in a 10-second grab. Difficult, but not impossible. Thirdly, offering a diversity of media contacts for journalists when covering stories involving the Muslim community is paramount. Journalists are often criticised, and I've heard this many times, for going to the usual suspects when it comes to getting spokespeople to speak on behalf of the community. However, that is not to say that the journalists do not try to get a fresh voice. I have witnessed journalists work hard to get a different perspective, but due to the fear and the lack of media experience of some fresh voices, they are drowned out, and the fear prevents individuals from agreeing to interviews, as well as the community backlash, leaving journalists at times with no other opportunity, or option rather, but to go to the usual suspects. Finally, encouraging young people within the Muslim community to take up journalism as a career. I think this is probably the most critical. I was warned, as many young people are, not to choose a career in journalism. I was told the media is the enemy and that journalists cannot be trusted. The fearful construct of the media, as established by some within the Muslim community, although are understandable, are not necessarily accurate. The more talented young journalists we have within the media, not only from Muslim backgrounds, but a diversity of backgrounds, the richer the news becomes, the more nuances stories will have, and the better Australian journalism will reflect the true multicultural Australia that we live in. So I encourage you not to fear the media, but rather embrace it in all its madness. Because despite the concerns that you may hold, the media is the last resort at preserving the truth and informing us of all that unfolds around us. Thank you.